Well, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we do direct your attention to the track where stepping onto the track now is Sintra. For racing fans here at Woodbine Mohawk Park and across North America, Sintra has been a part of many of our sport's biggest races and has been one of the toughest competitors over the last several years. From the beginning of his career back in 2015 to a 6-race win streak as a 3-year-old back in 2016, Sintra would advance on to the older ranks where he would compete in many of the sport's biggest Grand Circuit events and would notably have one of his biggest highlights right here at Woodbine Mohawk Park when he won the 2017 Canadian Pacing Derby, getting the job done on that memorable evening here at Mohawk. Continuing on with his career, Sintra would overcome a couple of injuries to get back to that top racing level. And as mentioned, what an honest and tough as nails competitor he was. We had the pleasure of watching him for several years. Now, Sintra began his career here at Woodbine Mohawk Park, working his way into the Ontario Sire Stakes Gold ranks, and spent the majority of his career in the care of trainer Dave Menary. That's where he had a lot of his early success. But in recent years, back in July of 2022, he was purchased by TheStable.ca and was earmarked for Prince Edward Island's Gold Cup and Saucer, which he would go on to win, winning it in a track record time for his 30 fractional owners who traveled from across Canada and the United States to experience that in person. Tonight, many of those fractional owners and their families join us for his final Winner's Circle presentation, and some have traveled from as far away as Kansas. With his extraordinary talent, Sintra has facilitated incredible memories for so many people, and tonight, his most recent connections in TheStable.ca and his first family will celebrate his success and ring in the next chapter of his life, a much-deserved life of leisure with his original family, the Menarys. In front of the grandstand right now is Sintra. Ladies and gentlemen, with us on track, how about a round of applause for the 48-time winner of $1.6 million, a mark of 147-2, Sintra. TheStable.ca's Anthony MacDonald getting to parade Sintra by the grandstand one last time. As mentioned, many of his fractional owners and the group from TheStable.ca are with us here tonight, as is the Menarys. As when the decision was made to retire Sintra, TheStable.ca, Anthony and Amy MacDonald, they got together and decided it only made perfect sense for Sintra to head back home and to rejoin the Menarys. And how about the fact that Sintra went out a winner, winning his final career start on September 25th at Grand River Raceway, just up the road in Elora. He was a winner by 2 lengths in 153 and 3. He went out a winner. Nothing better than that. You love to see it. So right now we'll have all of those joining us on track here tonight to say farewell to Sintra. Head on out to the Winner's Circle as they will join him for one last Winner's Circle presentation. And it'll be a little different not to see Sintra racing around these parts, especially on a Saturday night. Had many memorable moments, partnered with his regular driver, Jody Jamieson, for a ton of those great victories, whether that be in the OSS and, of course, that Canadian Pacing Derby triumph. And, of course, Jody out there to join his old buddy for this retirement ceremony. In just a moment, we will head on down to the Winner's Circle, where Elisa Blow is standing by. She's going to catch up with Team Sintra.
Dave, if you're good, we'll get started.
Sure. All right, come on in there, guys.
Do you mind if I go out there?
So for the final time, Sintra walks off the track here at Woodbine Mohawk Park, a champion once again. 48 victories, 1.6 million in earnings, a remarkable mark of 147-2, and lots of great career highlights. Thanks for the memory, Sintra, and once again, we'll be going down to the winner's circle in just a moment to hear from his very proud connections.
What an emotional night, and as Mark had pointed out, the original family taking him home, the Menarys. I'm here with Dave Menary, who is taking Sintra home. And I just heard somebody describe him in a magnificent way. They said, this is a human in a horse's body. Tell me about this guy and his personality.
Yeah, he was all class, on the track and in the barn, and he had a ton of personality. He was so smart, he was near human.
Now, how did he actually come to be in your barn originally?
Dan Legacy picked the colt out for Brad Gray, and I ended up getting him after a couple starts. And when he landed, Mike Guerrero and I bought into him with Brad Gray, and got to race him once, and he ended up with a P1 in the Battle of Waterloo, which shortened his 2-year-old season, so he wasn't heavily staked at 3. He had a really good 3-year-old year. But racing light at 2 and 3, I think, led to his longevity. And at 4, he had his career year. At
what stage in the game did you know? Did you know the minute that this horse walked into your barn that you might have been sitting with a potential superstar?
Well, we were pretty high on him, at 2, but he didn't get to show anything. And then, when he started qualifying at 3, he was a pretty serious colt and just kept getting better along the way.
Let's talk about some of his setbacks too and what he's overcome in his career.
It was mostly just left front coffin bone. When he was in my care, I never raced him lame once. He was either off or he was awesome. There was sort of no in between. And, for a horse's age, he never had a lot of starts. But, when he did have starts, they're always good ones.
Now, you also said, too, that when you were done training him, that you made sure that you told Anthony that this horse had a home for life. You knew that you wanted to give him the right retirement and treat him the way, as good as he's been treating you, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. I cried when he walked out the door. And told Anthony he had a home for life. It was nice to see them get the Gold Cup and Saucer win, and so many other people enjoy them. And I heard somebody serve from Kansas, so that's great for TheStable.ca. And I think the horse touched a lot of people from the start of his career to the end of his career.
Yeah. Now we know that he's going to get a break and be a horse now. But you're saying that maybe the girls are going to have a little bit of fun with him as a riding horse.
Yeah, he'll probably hibernate for the winter, and Julie, my wife, rides, and all 3 girls, and he's got a fancy antique cart out there. I don't know what he's going to do with it, but he's going to live a good life.
Oh, I think that's just fantastic. We're actually looking back at his win in the Canadian Pacing Derby. That had to be one of the highlights of your career.
Special, win a race like that, on your home stomping grounds, for sure.
Well, congratulations and job well done with him, and good luck with him. We'd like to kind of stay in touch on how he's doing and maybe what he's doing in his future.
Sounds good. Thanks.
All right. Okay, I'm going to pass everything over to Randy. Randy's going to to take over from here.
Thanks, Elisa. Thank you too, Dave. Okay, Anthony MacDonald. We are talking about the COO of the stable here. I got to know, because, I mean, in the last few years, you've obviously built the stable up into what you have, but you did it a lot with young horses. That seemed to be your game. And then all of a sudden, I hear that Sintra is on gate, and the stable bought Sintra. Tell me what led you to Sintra.
Honestly, we have a huge group of clients. I just told you one of our clients, Marcia, is driven here from Kansas tonight, and we have owners in 14 countries, and some of them never get to see the horses race. And it got to a point where the babies are and ever will be what runs the stable. But people like to see horses race too, and if you can find a classy horse like Sintra, I knew he was struggling a bit here at Mohawk, but we were just starting to branch out. We were in Illinois, we were in Michigan, we were in Minnesota, we were everywhere we could be, and it just seemed like a horse like him could probably do anywhere. And we weren't wrong. He stepped right in and actually picked it up here when we got him. And then go to the Gold Cup. One, the horse he wasn't bought for the Gold Cup. He was bought to go somewhere. And then he had been racing so good. Harry said you should take this horse to the Gold Cup. And not many people know this, but it was Mark's drive, it was James's drive, and it wasn't for Harry Poulton, I never would have drove him. He said you better get down to PEI and drive that horse. I spent so much time losing the Gold Cup. I just came to the realization, maybe in my mind, that I never would win it. And you saw it halfway down the lane there when I had the fist pump. It just, the emotion of horse racing and winning that race for me was a lot. And then to have that horse, a horse that's really hard to pull up. I pulled him up in the far turn, and he literally walked for an eighth of a mile and took pictures with people along the fence. He is. Unless it said, he's a human in a horse's body, he is easily the coolest horse I've ever seen, and I've only known him a very short time.
Well, I mean, on my personal thoughts anyway, I watched you win the Gold Cup in Saucer, great drive, and I watched you win that race, and then I watched you walk that horse around, let him be a fan favorite, and the personality of the horse to boot. I mean, like he just won a big race. You would have to think that he'd be a little bit fired up, you know what I mean? But he was so much of a gentleman with you, and you took your time. I mean, it was like 15 minutes for you to get back to the winner's circle with him, with all the pictures and flashes going off. I guess where I'm going with this is because the Gold Cup and Saucer means so much to you, this horse will be a memory for you for the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. I mean, this game passes us by so quick. Most of the stuff we appreciate the most is in replays, right? Because it's always tomorrow. We got to get up and go back to our job. And this was the one time, at least up to that point in my life, where I got to experience it and get excited about it all in the same moment. And that horse, for him to walk, it was truly incredible, because if anybody's ever driven him, he's a tough horse to pull up. And I got him pulled up on the far turn, and he literally, it was like he understood too. He walked all the way around, and anytime somebody stood over the fence with a camera, he stopped and he took a picture with them. It was literally the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life, and he just is a truly extraordinary animal, that's for sure.
Okay, one more question I got to ask. I got to let you go though, but one thing I would ask, so what led to the point of where you said, okay, enough is enough?
Well, he had been racing, and we were working on, as Dave said, his front feet bother him. He wears flip-flops, or wore flip-flops. His left hind ankle was starting to bother him a little bit, and Harry had him to the vet a couple of times, and Dr. McKee had said, and she had known the horse his whole life. She said, the cartilage in that left hind ankle is bothering him quite a bit. And it got to the point where he had slid a little bit here. He really wasn't that competitive in the classes he needed to race in at Mohawk. At Grand River he could do, but now he had just won that class. Now we were going to have to ask him to race in the Open at Grand River that had just gone in 51 the week before, or come back to Mohawk. And knowing that that's a 3 or 4 start process to get him back in where he could do, I just said to Harry, you know what? If there was ever a horse on earth that needed to be retired this way, it's this horse. He's just such a classy animal. And it was funny because you'd think if you asked 30 people, how many of them would say, hey, man, maybe just get him to the vet and we could race him a couple more times. And, who knows? He's such a nice horse, and most people mean well. Not one human being that owned this horse said anything but absolutely 100% agree. This was a horse that was still worth quite a bit of money after that start at Grand River, and not one human being objected to him being retired. Not one.
That's amazing, amazing. Now, one other quick question with him. Okay, one quick question we're going to give. You got to answer this one quick, though. But what made you contact Menary's?
You know, when Dave sold the horse, he had said to me, he was a little shooken up that the horse was sold. I think it was more of a business issue with the group. And he had said to me, he goes, just so you know, he said, win, lose, or draw, that horse got a horse for life with me. And that was the first thing I thought of. When I hung the phone up with Harry, I texted Menary and I said, hey, Dave, you know, if you want, the horse is good, he's sound, if you want him back, he's yours. And it was 5 seconds later, he goes, absolutely, thank you so much.
Congratulations, two great guys, Dave Menary, Anthony MacDonald, and the great Sintra. What a night. Congratulations to all the connections.